Chapter 31. It's time to break up. Just wait for me a little longer, I'll be done soon. Fanshawe's voice reverberated within the enclosed space of the car, its deep vibration lingering as it reached Yushalang's ears. It's fine, Yushalang's fingers rested on the car door button, intending to roll down the window for some fresh air. On the glass, tinted with a privacy film, a patch of flesh-toned color was reflected. Fanshawe was fastening the buttons beneath his throat. Then Yushalang changed his mind, because he knew Fanshawe was afraid of the cold. The buttons on Fanshawe's shirt that morning had been fastened by himself, taking a long time and quite a bit of effort. Now two had come undone again. The handsome man with a cut at the corner of his mouth lowered his head and used his stiff fingers to push the buttons back through the silver-threaded holes. Yushalang secretly tested himself, trying to button his own shirt with his left hand. After a moment, he muttered under his breath, "Useless." Fanshawe didn't even lift his head. "If you're not going to help, then don't. But at least don't mock me. The director I know is warm-hearted, always ready to help strangers. But when it comes to me, I don't seem to get that kind of treatment." Fanshawe was acting spoiled again. Yushalang had thought that after revealing his sexual orientation, Fanshawe would reassess him, perhaps feel disgusted or distance himself, or at the very least maintain polite appearances and keep their interactions superficial and measured. Yushalang thought it would be the third option, which aligned with Fanshawe's character and demeanor. He even imagined this scenario. It wasn't terrible, though admittedly a little regrettable, but acceptable nonetheless. But now it seemed he had once again misread Fanshawe. From last night until this moment, Fanshawe hadn't shown the slightest hint of change. Everything was just as before. Even the length of his drawled words carried the same effortless rhythm as always. Yushalang turned his gaze, and what entered his sight was a faint glimpse of a collarbone, gleaming softly with a subtle glow under the sparkle of a diamond-studded button. Half concealed beneath the fabric was a pendant he had seen once before, a small four-faced Buddha, its features carved into a fierce expression. His eyes drifted lower to those long, stiff yet beautiful fingers. Fanshawe's palms were broad, his fingers slender and well-defined, every joint distinct. Beneath the thin layer of skin ran faint blue veins, and the sight alone evoked an almost involuntary urge, an instinctive desire to hold them. Inevitably, Yushalang's thoughts slipped back to last night, guided by that large hand he had reached into the soft quilt tracing downward. The skin beneath his touch was firm yet smooth, its contours The skin beneath his touch was firm yet smooth, its contours flowing in seamless, taut refinement, sculpted in graceful lines. It was a man's body in its purest, most perfect form, exquisite to the very extreme. He gave his head a small shake, pushing away those unruly thoughts. Yushalang tentatively asked, "Do you still need my help?" Fanshawe was taken aback, then lifted his head, meeting the man in the driver's seat with a steady gaze. His eyes were intense, and his words were just as direct. "Sexual orientation is a matter of personal freedom for everyone. Director, you needn't concern yourself with it." Then he added, "Could it be that Director Yu is feeling inferior?" "No, I don't think you would either." "I'm afraid you might." Fanshawe simply gave up on buttoning altogether, leaving his slender neck boldly exposed. He let out a short, amused scoff. "So what if you're gay? Yushalang, have you forgotten where I grew up?" He pressed his palms together, his tone lilting with a soft, teasing sweetness. "Sawadee-ka." That single phrase in Thai brought a trace of laughter to both their eyes. Yushalang fished out a roach cigarette from the car and slipped it between his lips. "Come here." His words muffled around the cigarette. Fanshawe leaned in closer. The two undone buttons were deftly fastened one after the other by nimble fingers. In that process, Yushalang accidentally brushed against the dark green Buddha pendant. A cool sensation touched his fingertip, The carving felt distinctively uneven, with sharp, defined edges and angles, neither smooth nor rounded. All done. Yushulang casually patted Fansha's collar a few times, a gesture akin to how buddies interact, deliberately stripping away any hint of ambiguity. Fansha slowly sat up straight, the smile at the corners of his lips gradually fading. Yet his tone still carried a faint cheerfulness as he asked, "So, your girlfriend is a man?" Yushulang didn't have the habit of smoking in the car. He held the unlit cigarette between his fingers and admitted, "Yes, before I let you misunderstand." "It's fine, I understand. I'll introduce you to someday." Fangshu's dark lips curved into a dazzling smile. "Sure, I'll look forward to it. But let's wait until the bruise on my face heals, alright? I don't want your boyfriend asking how I got hurt. Well, I can't exactly tell him I was harassing his man and got punched for it." Yu Shilong was in a good mood and didn't bother chastising Fanshaw for his crude remark. With a laugh, he urged him off. "Get out of the car, or you'll be late for work." Fanshaw used his good hand to push open the car door, stepped halfway out, then suddenly turned back in. He leaned close, pressing into Yu Shilang's space. Under the man's puzzled gaze, Fangshaw said in a low voice, "I can't wait to fuck you." "What did you say?" Yushulang asked. "Wishing you a pleasant day." The tall man watched as the car slowly slid out of sight. With a deft movement of his left hand, he pulled out his phone and tapped in a few numbers. "Shenshen, it's been a long time. Let's meet up tonight." Lucian cancelled the date he had with Yushulang. Stepping onto the dreamlike floor of the concave bar, the light beneath his feet rippled like water. Yet what made his steps falter was not the hyper-realistic 3D effect below, but the surge of excitement and nervousness swelling in his chest. Fan Xiao had contacted him again, after disappearing for almost a month. To say Fan Xiao had disappeared wasn't entirely accurate. Lucian still often received expensive gifts from him. Among them was even a newly launched luxury handbag. Price aside, at a time when not even the most well-connected snobs in Circle could get their hands on one, carrying it to events gave Lucian, for the first time, a quiet sense of triumphant pride. By all common logic, after sending a gift, there should naturally come a phone call, an invitation to dinner, a date, and then, as things usually went, the two of them would end up in bed together. Yet, despite the steady stream of gifts piling up in his hands, Lucian had never once gotten a phone call from Francia. Gazing at that single character fan on the gift cards, he sometimes wondered if it was merely a figment of his imagination. Since Fanshaw didn't call, Lucian could only call instead. He kept telling him over and over again it was merely out of courtesy. Occasionally, the call would get through. They would exchange a few casual words before the other person would say he was about to go into a meeting or was away on a business trip, then hung up in a hurry. More often than not, it was only a short text in reply, warm, gentle, dripping with affection, but after that there would be no response. Lucian had seen enough filthy dealings in their industry where scumbags would try to grope one's thigh over a simple dinner invitation were everywhere, which in turn made someone like Fan Xiao wealthy, generous, and not ruled by lust seem all the more noble. So, when Fan Xiao unexpectedly asked to meet today, Lucian was both surprised and delighted. He quickly made up a random excuse and turned down the invitation Yu Shulang had arranged long in advance. Walking down the sleek high-tech corridor, he spotted the tall and handsome man in his usual spot. "He'll come, of course. The one who's been kept dangling is always a passive one. All you have to do is crook your finger and he'll come running." Fanchio's lips curved into a smile as he welcomed Lucian, who was approaching with graceful steps while replying to his assistant's earlier question. The moment the words left his mouth, Fanchio's well-shaped hand gently settled onto Lucian's shoulder. "What were you talking about?" Lucian asked. Fanchio guided him to his seat his deep, melodious voice resonating with a captivating cadence. I said, "Every time I see you, my eyes light up." Lucian had heard all kinds of sweet words and honeyed flirtations before, yet none could rival the impact of such a simple compliment. His gaze lowered, a faint smile tugging at his lips, part amusement, mostly bashfulness. He knew full well that this was the look that made him most alluring, but just as his gaze dropped, his expression not yet perfected to its most alluring, he caught sight of Fanshawe's injured hand. Surprised, he looked up again, and in the flickering light and shadow, he noticed the wound at the corner of the man's lips. "What happened? How did you get hurt?" Fanshawe smiled slightly, tried to harass someone, and got beaten up instead. Lucian was taken aback for a second, then retorted in a soft, coquettish tone, "Nonsense." Fanshawe took a sip of his drink, his tone calm. "It's true, but if you don't believe me, then that's fine too." Seeing that Fanshawe wasn't willing to talk about it, Lucian smoothly changed the subject. "Has Mr. Fan been busy lately?" "Busy, yet not busy." Fanshawe took another slow sip of his wine. A faint melancholy lingered between his brows, and the gaze he cast toward Lucian was as deep and weighty as the sea. Wrapped in that deep, heavy gaze, Lucian's heart tightened. He felt as though something was about to happen. Was Fanshawe finally going to confess his feelings? A thrill of secret joy rippled through Lucian. The rose-colored liquid in his glass shimmered dazzlingly as he gently swirled it. For some reason, Lucian suddenly thought of Shulang. 3 years ago, when the Shulang he had pursued for so long finally said they could try being together, agreed to give their relationship a try, he had felt this same giddy happiness. Perhaps even happier than now. Lucian drained the last of his drink, a smile curving on his lips as he asked, "Then how can one speak of being busy and yet not busy?" Fanshawe's lips were beautifully shaped. They parted slightly, then pressed together again. At last, with a hint of self-mockery in his tone, he spoke slowly. "Busy? Because I'm pretending to be busy." "Pretending to be busy?" Lucian pondered for a moment. "Does that mean Mr. Fan didn't want to see me?" "How could that be? It's just—" Fanshawe gave a wry smile. "It's just that you probably don't have time to see me, do you?" "I do have time." The words came out too bluntly. Lucian paused and rephrased his words. "I mean, I'm quite busy, but if Mr. Fan were to invite me, I'd definitely make time to meet." Yet in response, Fanshawe only gave another helpless, bitter smile. He patted Lucian twice on the shoulder, his expression and tone both tinged with something heartbreakingly wistful. "Why don't you look at the menu and see if there is anything else you'd like to order? I'm going to the restroom." Even after Fanshawe walked away, Lucian remained confused. He sat there in silence, sipping his drink, his heart a tangled mess of unease. Actually, President Fan's desire for exclusivity is very strong. This clumsy sentence, spoken in broken Chinese, drifted over from the corner of the sofa, startling Lucian, who had been lost in thought. Following the voice, he turned his head and saw Fanshawe's assistant, who was nearly swallowed by the darkness, and in that instant he understood. It was time to break up with Shulang. End of chapter 31. Chapter 32. Had never loved. No other reason? Shulang's final syllable fell steady and even, calm, measured, betraying no trace of emotion. Lucian felt guilty, and so he had been uneasy the entire time. The words of breaking up that he had prepared and practiced the whole night before now came out haltingly, stumbling and falling apart into fragments. "You are wonderful. It's me who's not good enough for you." That single sentence nearly shattered the calm on Shulang's face. The shadow beneath his brow ridge deepened. He pulled out a cigarette, but only held it in his hand, slowly rolling it between his fingers. The young man across from him kept his head lowered, so Shulang could only see the crown of his hair. He had once loved that soft, fine hair. It seemed to carry a quiet gentleness that extended all the way to its very tips, and when he ran his fingers through it, it felt as though his heart was being soaked in a silent spring rain. Now those strands of hair still gleamed softly in the sunlight, veiling the young man's eyes and brows, leaving only the tense lines of his jaw exposed. His lips were pressed together, and his fingers fidgeted with the deliberately ripped holes in his jeans. It was already late autumn, yet the stylish and beautiful Lucian still wore only a single layer of pants. His fingernails dug into the fabric's frayed edges, leaving faint red marks on his own skin. Forget it. Yushalang's heart softened. A shining crown on the bookshelf, the expensive items in the wardrobe, the crude excuses, the contradictions in his explanations, the schedules that could no longer align. He would ask no more. Since Lucian had already made up his mind to leave, and had even crafted enough ample excuses for this ill-fated relationship to fade away without resolution, then why would Yu Shulang tear away his dignity, expose him, and humiliate him further with a label he had never escaped? The cigarette was tossed between his lips and lit. Behind the veil of curling white smoke, Yu Shulang asked one final time, "Have you thought it through, Lucian?" Startled, Lucian lifted his head at last, meeting his gaze. His fingertips tightened slowly, wrinkling the fabric of his jeans. The red rims of his eyes deepened. He opened his mouth several times, only to give up each time. Finally, a brilliant gleam reflected in his pupils. It was the shine of the crown atop the bookshelf. Gritting his teeth, Lucian spoke, each word pushed out one by one. "I've thought it through." Silence fell between them. Other than the faintly rising white smoke, there seemed to be nothing living left in the room. After finishing the cigarette, Yu Shulang crushed the stub in the ashtray. "I'm leaving," he said as he stood up. "Take good care of yourself from now on." The man's steps were brisk, showing not a trace of hesitation. Just as his fingers touched the front door handle, he heard a voice call out behind him. "Yu Shulang." Before the echo of the name faded, Lucian suddenly rushed forward and threw himself into the man's arms, hugging his waist tightly, crying like a child who had been deeply wronged. His tears were hot and unrestrained, soaking through the shirt and scalding the skin beneath. Yu Shulang's hands hung loosely at his sides. He didn't embrace the young man as he once had. "You don't have me in your heart any more." Amid the sound of his own sniffles, Lucian felt the gentle pressure of Yu Shulang's hands pushing him away. The man lowered his gaze to meet his eyes. "Don't cry. You're actually quite brave. You can face your own heart." His palm ruffled the young man's hair one last time. "Live well. Your work environment is complicated, so be careful and protect yourself. And don't let yourself be shortchanged in any other way." After giving his final advice, Yu Shulang turned to leave, but Lucian grabbed him once more. The faint shimmer of tears in his eyes met him head-on, without any attempt to hide. "Yu Shulang, did you ever love me?" There was no lingering affection in Lucian's voice. Only a trace of accusation could be detected in his words. The tall man was silent for a moment. For the first time, a faint coldness appeared in his usually calm, steady gaze. "Did you not feel it?" he asked in return. "Attentive care, constant concern for my well-being, looking after my every need, supporting me unconditionally." The young man let out a soft, derisive laugh. "Yu Shulang, do you really think love is only this?" Watching the man's brows slowly furrow, Lucian's tone grew almost like an indictment. "Yes, you treated me well. You were a perfect boyfriend, whom no one could ever find fault with. Whatever I said, you agreed to. Whatever I did, you went along with, even when it was something you clearly disliked. But aside from all that, I can't feel you at all. I can't feel your real self. You never talked to me about your work. I know I wouldn't understand it, but I still wanted to be part of every aspect of your life. And you weren't interested in the things I shared with you either. Even though you listened attentively, I could fucking tell you didn't like it. And more than that, I could never step into your world, whether in moments of silence, when you smoked, when you smiled, even after we made love. I could feel your loneliness. Even when I was right there, right beside you, holding you tightly, you were still lonely. Your heart is shut too tightly. Or maybe you never intended to let me in at all. The distance between us is too far. So far that no matter how hard I tried, I could never get close to you. Do you know how crushing that feels? That kind of helplessness? It's utterly devastating. Lucian wiped away a tear and delivered his final verdict. You, Shulang, you have never loved me. End of chapter 32.